Hi everyone, my name is Corey Edington. I'm here with my demo man, Caleb. He's going to be demonstrating some power exercises for you guys today. So the last two videos we've touched on deadlift variations, squat variations, and now we're going to go through some power variations. So talking about your power clean and your snatch, your two main Olympic lifts, and then we're also going to touch on variations of those, the high pull variations, as well as the push press, which is actually part of your power clean and jerk. But we're going to talk about all those things and run through some mechanics and things you should be watching for, as well as some cues on how to teach people when you're doing that. So we're going to start off here with a power clean. So one good thing to keep in mind when you're going through a power clean is make sure that you teach your client, your athlete, whoever you're training, to do a deadlift and then a front squat and then work on a power clean, because if you go straight to a power clean and they don't have experience with those other two lifts, it's going to be a lot more difficult to teach them the power clean exercise with good mechanics. Okay, so you'll notice a power clean. We'll get Caleb, again, just like our deadlift setup, so feet shoulder width apart, hands just outside of hips. That's important for when we catch the bar, because we want to catch on our body, not in our hands. So hands just outside of hips. We're going to lower down into a deadlift position. Now again, the first half of the power clean pretty much identical to a deadlift, only now, since power or speed of movement is our focus, we're doing the motion really explosively, and the idea is that that explosive hip extension drives and carries the bar upwards in the air so we can get underneath it and catch it on our shoulders and then stand up completely. Okay, so again, we're going to get Caleb down into his good deadlift position, so hips back. You'll notice his shoulders slightly in front of the bar, but again, important thing is that the bar is right over the center of his foot, not getting too far out away from his body. Now you're just going to instruct Caleb to do a powerful jump, and then after he does his jump and gets full hip extension, so again, full hip extension means hips are all the way through, so we get full extension through our hip, knee, and ankle joint. Once he does that powerful jump, that power is going to carry the bar upwards. Once the bar starts to rise, he's going to drop underneath it, okay? So again, the biggest thing when you're teaching people this, power clean, very complex exercise, okay? So you want to make sure not to overload the person. You might have to, again, you're going to have to work on this exercise for a couple sessions until you get people very proficient at it, because if you try and just overload them, and I could tell Caleb 7 or 8 different cues right now, right? But he's only going to remember 1 or 2 of them when he's trying his power cleans, okay? So we got to find a more basic spot to start. Again, that goes back to why it's important to teach a deadlift and a front squat first. But progressing to the power clean, I would tell Caleb, start in your deadlift position, and then once you're there, just like you're coming out of do your deadlift, except I want you to think about jumping as high as you can. So you're going to do a big jump. Once hips come all the way through, I'm going to instruct Caleb to drop his body under the bar like he's going down into a front squat. Okay, so big jump and then drop down under the bar and stand up. There you go. So you'll see all his mechanics pretty good there. So hips coming all the way through, and then as he drops, he's throwing his elbows underneath the bar to catch it on his shoulders. Again, you'll notice that catch phase, everything is the exact same as with our front squat. So like we talked about, shoulders up, or sorry, not shoulders, elbows up, so that the bar rests on his shoulders, not on his collarbone. And it's important to get into the habit of this and getting comfortable with catching the bar on your body, because as you progress up in weight with a power clean, you'll see the people that always catch it in their hands. Okay, that's going to be a major limiting factor with how much weight you can actually power clean. So getting good habits early, get confidence and get comfortable with catching the bar on your body instead of holding it up in your wrists. And then the other thing we want to touch on as well, just face sideways. Again, you'll notice this is kind of one of the things most commonly done wrong when people are doing a power clean. A lot of people try and swing the bar up to their shoulders, so they kind of swing the bar out in front of them and bring it around. You'll notice that Olympic barbells have bearings in them, so that bar is actually meant to rotate. So yeah, Caleb's kind of demonstrating a good catch pattern there. So as he comes through, The bar always stays nice and close into his body, so you'll notice his shoulders, his elbows are kind of going outward. That bar stays close into his body, and then when he decides to really catch that bar, he's throwing elbows underneath, and that bar is actually rotating in your hands, so you're never swinging the bar. And kind of a good way to pick that out, if you're teaching somebody a power clean, people that like to swing the bar in front of them, they'll always catch, like they're almost falling backwards, and they'll kind of stumble, okay? So that's a little cue how it's easy to pick that out. So those are the major kind of considerations of a power clean. Going off of that, I'm going to briefly discuss the high pull. A high pull can be done from either a power clean or a snatch position, okay? So all a high pull is, again, kind of why we use a high pull. If you want to get the power benefits of the power clean exercise, but you have somebody with shoulder issues, kind of like the stuff we talked about with the front squats, thoracic mobility issues, hip mobility issues, and they have a really hard time getting into a good catch position, a high pull variation is great for them, because all you're going to do with a high pull, again, it's just the initial drive phase of a power clean, but after you do your big jump, instead of catching the bar, you're going to just throw that bar as high as you can in the air, step away, and it would just fall on the ground in front of you. So we're not actually going to drop this bar here, but again, you can kind of imagine it's a power clean, only once your hips come all the way through, yeah, you just step back, let that bar drop down in front of you, and there's your high pull variation. And again, we'll move on to the snatch, and then I'll briefly touch on the high pull variation of the snatch as well. So the snatch exercise, again, great for developing lower body power within your workout routine. How it differs from the power clean, our hands are very wide in comparison to the power clean, because that bar is coming straight up over top of our head, okay, instead of resting on our shoulders like with the power clean. So again, hand placement very wide. Caleb's going to go down into his deadlift position, so just like before, only now when Caleb comes up, again, he's going to throw that bar up in the air, and then he's going to drop into a front squat and catch it straight overhead, okay? So again, just like with our power clean, when you're catching that weight overhead, very important that the person has good shoulder mobility, good range of motion through the hips, thoracic spine. Again, mobility plays a huge issue in being able to, or plays a huge role in being able to do all these exercises well. So Caleb, maybe let's just demonstrate one more snatch there, a little bit of faster pace. Again, instructing our client to jump, and then, yeah, shoot arms straight as you catch the bar overhead. Again, just like, yeah, those are some good snatches there. So just like our power clean, you'll notice how Caleb's not jumping and swinging the bar out in front of him. But again, he's jumping, that bar stays close into his body, his hands are wide, bar starts to come up, and then he shoots and extends hands over top of his head when he goes to the top of that exercise. And one thing I'll briefly touch on with the snatch, and also relates to the power clean as well, that I didn't touch on before, is we want to watch when we are teaching our clients or our athletes to do these exercises, that they're not pulling on the bar too early, okay? So what you want to make sure is that in this initial part of the lift, the arms stay straight, so they're getting all the drive through their hips, and they're not taking away some of that power output by pulling on the bar. So arms stay straight as the hips come through. Now once we've gotten full hip extension, that's when we can start pulling on that bar a little bit to accelerate it faster and faster upwards until we go into our extended or our kind of lockout position in that deep squat. Okay, so again, those are the main things. But a snatch exercise, and also just like I talked about before, you can do a high pull variation with a snatch as well. So hands nice and wide, again, you would just pull that bar all the way up. You're not actually going into your catch position, you're just pulling it up, and then you're dropping it right in front of you, okay? Last one I'll touch on here is a push press exercise. So push press is the last component exercise, which is a power clean and jerk. So the jerk portion, or we also call it the push press when it's just by itself, is when bar is going to be resting on shoulders, and then we're going to our position to hold it overhead, okay? So again, to start with this position, you need good shoulder, good thoracic mobility. Again, the important thing about this is that explosive pop to get that bar going upwards is coming from the hips, okay? We're not just strictly doing a shoulder press with this exercise, okay? The idea is that you get a little bit of a hip hinge, so hips will drop back there, and then I explosively drive my hips through, which will start to press the bar off my body, and then I extend with my arms to hold it straight overhead. Now, with foot placement, we have two options here. Okay, so we can either keep our feet side by side, so we push it off, and with feet side by side, or else we can go into a staggered position. Again, people with tight hips, mobility issues, oftentimes they'll prefer the staggered position. A little bit easier for them to get into a proper catch position with their feet staggered instead of side by side. So, Caleb's just going to demonstrate maybe both variations for us. So hips back, press straight overhead. Again, now try that staggered variation. Same thing, hips back, press, holding the bar straight overhead. Again, a good exercise to really work on that quick little explosive action through your hips. Okay, and that's everything for all the major power exercises.